It's Monday night. You know what that means. A brand new episode of the Tan and J-Man Show live on the IC Sports Network, live on the ISC Sports Network Twitter channel and YouTube channel and the Tan and J-Man Show Facebook page. Episode 342 underway. I'm Tanner Lee. You already know that by now. And you already know my co-host by now, the legend himself, Josh the J-Man Mont. How we staying cool right now, J-Man?
I have the air conditioner on. That's about all I can do right now. It actually wasn't as bad here today as it was last week, which was nice because last week was brutal. But no, it's not too bad today.
Yeah, I agree with that. I don't mind warm temperatures, but getting 95 in very early June's a little ridiculous.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Didn't have very hot weather in May whatsoever, but then June hits and bam, 96 degrees.
Yeah, and the official start of summer is not till late June, and summer's trying to get here early. But oh well, we can't control it. We can only.
Wish I could.
Oh.
I took an intro to meteorology course back in college. I wish I could control the weather, but unfortunately, the J-Man cannot, nor can he predict because he never finished the class. Pretty sure he dropped out.
You could be a good meteorologist. I could see you being a meteorologist someday.
Too much science for the J-Man.
There's a lot of science.
And math. Yeah.
There's a lot of science and math. Numbers and formulas, not your thing. Not my thing either. Yeah. Not my thing either. That's why we're talking about sports on the podcast, and we're not talking about weather and mathematics and physics and chemistry and academics.
Speaking of numbers, Nikola Jokic became the third player in NBA postseason history with 500 points, 200 rebounds, and 150 assists in a single playoff run. Can you name the other two players to have done this?
No, but I'll try.
You got a pretty good shot tonight there, Tandem Man.
That's a kiss of death. The kiss of death.
Birdie Bogey is brought to you by Arlington Public House. Arlington Public House has upscale cuisine and cocktails with a casual atmosphere located 703 Main Street in Rochester. I tell you what, their special over the weekend looked fantastic. It was chicken parm marinated in hand-breaded chicken cutlets, fried to golden brown perfection, topped with house-made marinara, fresh mozzarella, Parmesan, and fresh basil paired with garlic butter noodles. That is right up the J-Man's alley. Tell you what.
I'm pretty hungry. That sounds really good right now.
Yeah. They also had a pizza burger, which also sounds pretty good. So,
Pizza burgers and pizza sandwiches are underrated.
I don't know if I've ever had a pizza burger.
No.
It's two of my favorite things. Never had them combined, though.
Should do it.
I'm going to look. Yeah, tonight I'm going to research local pizza burger places, see if I can find.
There's got to be one somewhere. Just don't go with like a fast food one or something.
Yeah. I'm sure Burger King tried it, and it was probably terrible.
It's like I love chicken parmesan, but every time I've had like a fast food chicken parmesan sandwich, I've gotten sick. So
yeah, Burger King again. Sports bar chicken parm sandwiches aren't very good either. I've found that out the hard way. Bill Murray's restaurant there.
I thought I got that. I thought I got that night and it was good, but maybe I got something else.
I'm pretty sure you got.
I got the meatball.
Else.
I got the meatball sub. I like the meatball.
Good. The
meatball sub was good.
The chicken parm sandwich was not.
Chicken parm did not taste good.
Not taste good. No. There's Peyton Manning when you need him.
He was at Game 1 of the NBA Finals. They didn't show him last night in Game 2, or if they did, I missed it. And let's get right into it. Let's talk some NBA Finals. And the Heat pulled off the upset last night. They were 8-point underdogs coming into the game at Ball Arena. And really, they got up early, about 12. And then second quarter, the Nuggets got up 12. And that was with Joker out. So you're thinking, geez, if the Nuggets are getting up 12 with the Joker out for a majority of that stretch, then they're going to cruise. Had to lead after the third going to the fourth, but then the Heat played an almost perfect fourth quarter. The Nuggets did have a 3-point attempt at the buzzer by Jamal Murray to tie the game, but wasn't meant to be. And the Heat tied up 1-1 going to Miami on Wednesday.
Yeah, that is Miami's fourth win when trailing by 8 or more points entering the fourth this postseason.
Gritty team.
Yeah, which that's Spoelstra. Spoelstra is a pretty dang good coach.
Yeah, I used to rip on him. Even on this pod when we first started back in 2016, I thought he was just a chest holder pretty much for LeBron and Wade and Bosh, but he's proven the last 5 years or so he knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Hall of Famer?
Close. Very close, I'd say right now. Probably will be by the time he hangs it up.
I'd have a hard time keeping him out. I mean, he's won two.
That's
two
true.
with LeBron. He's been there twice without him. And especially if he can get this one done, I can't imagine a scenario where he is not at the very least in discussion.
Yeah.
Of being Hall of Famer, and he would get in.
If you lead an 8 seed to the NBA Finals and win it, you probably deserve to be. But Mike Malone's catching some criticism on Twitter for not taking a timeout. He had 2 in his pocket when the Nuggets got the ball down through with 10 seconds left, and it was kind of, their play got busted. It was kind of going nowhere and decided not to use it. We see coaches a lot of times get executed by the Twitterverse, I'll call it, for using or not using timeouts.
Yeah, and we also, as you said, also using timeouts. People rip on that as well.
Right.
I'm a bad sports person. Have not watched a single second of the NBA playoffs.
It was a pretty exciting game last night. It was.
Yeah, the final score indicated that I probably wouldn't have stayed up to watch it, but the games are just so late. I'm such an old man.
Well, it's better that they start at 8:30 now than the previous rounds would start at like 10:30 for the Nuggets. So
the mountain time.
Yeah.
But they haven't watched any. But the Denver Nuggets have not won a postseason game this year when Jokic has scored over 40 points, which is weird.
Very weird. He gets no help when he does that.
Right. Obviously one of the best passers in the NBA, which is crazy for a guy who's 6'11". He's obviously going to get his, and they just kind of have to stop whoever is around him, Murray or Gordon or Porter Jr. or any of those other guys.
Yeah, nobody else really stepped up. That's what killed him. And he only had 4 assists, which is very low for him. I mean, he was good on the boards and, of course, good scoring. But it was just a little too late. I mean, Nuggets got down 9 with a couple minutes left and fought back, hitting some threes late, but this wasn't meant to be. Jimmy Butler hit some big shots. Duncan Robinson, who I texted our friend group, I can't believe he's as good a pro as he's become. I mean, he's not great by any means, but in college I never thought he would – I didn't think he'd be an NBAer, let alone making a difference in the NBA Finals. And it was interesting. Spoelstra messed around with the starting lineup a little bit. Started the old vet Kevin Love last night, who I honestly forgot he was still in the league. And then it refreshed my mind. Yeah, Cleveland traded him at the trade deadline to Miami, and he was making a difference last night. I mean, maybe the stat sheet didn't really tell a story for him, but if you watch the game with your 2 eyes, you could see he was making a difference.
Yeah. I have a stupid stat here. There is a stat for everything nowadays. These advanced metrics, all of this stuff. It's obviously helped sports significantly, but sometimes there's stuff that they just pick and choose. This one here, ESPN Stats and Info. Nikola Jokic averaged 2.07 dribbles before a shot attempt on Sunday, 3rd highest average of his playoff career. Jokic has averaged 2 dribbles before a shot attempt 4 times in his playoff career. The Nuggets have lost 3 of those games. Like, is there a correlation between that and them losing, or is it just some made up stupid stat?
I would say made up stupid stat, but it is interesting. It is interesting. I saw a few other stats. That was the Heat's first win in Denver since 2016, and it was Denver's first home loss this year in the playoffs.
Yeah, Denver's had a fairly easy road up to this point, which your road's going to be easier when you're a 1 seed anyway. That's the reason why. But the fact they've got to play a 7 seed in the Western Conference Finals, now an 8 seed in the NBA Finals, has helped significantly. But you got to play. You got to be who you play.
I think Nugget fans were pretty darn confident heading last night. Then coming out last night down, they're a little worried. Going to Miami for 2 games and got to at least get 1. And Miami showed they're just going to fight, scratch, and claw. That's what they do. That's what they do. I mean, we were talking, you and I were Saturday. We thought the Heat were pretty much done already after one game, and we were saying the Nuggets are the better team, which I still think the Nuggets are the better team. But it hasn't mattered. I think the Heat the Bucks were a better team than the Heat.
For sure. Boston, better team than the Heat.
Boston, and who did they beat in the second round?
The Knicks. I would say the Heat.
Next. Yeah, I would say that too. But so, I mean, heck, the Bulls had these guys down with 5 minutes to play.
Yeah.
In the playing game. So we'll see. I mean, it's postseason basketball. Anything can happen, I suppose. But
it usually isn't that way in the NBA, though. Anything.
It isn't.
Happen, you know?
It isn't.
Crazy,
I guess when you get in the finals, you can.
Sure.
And this is the most NBA I've watched. The last two rounds, most NBA I've watched all year by far. And it still amazes me how quick the game is compared to college. Mm-hmm. Not only a 24-second shot clock, but just the athleticism of the athletes. I mean, I rip on the NBA shot making, especially 3-pointers. Mm-hmm. They make them like layups at times, especially if they're wide open. And I'm a guy who does rip the NBA in the regular season big time for defensive effort a lot of times. In the playoffs, I really do think everybody's trying. But sometimes it looks like they're not trying just because they're guarding the best offensive players in the world. And they're just that darn good. They're making their defender look silly.
Yeah. It's reached a point where it's so tough to defend in the NBA just because guys are so dang good. And I don't know whether it's just the evolution of the game or players just work harder than they used to. But some of these shots these guys are making, as you said, they're like layups to them, and they're deep fadeaway 3-pointers in a corner, fading away from the court. It's become so difficult to guard, and even with the intensity ratcheting up in the NBA Finals, it still, as you said, feels like they're not even playing good defense when in reality they are.
No, and they're going to be high scoring games. I mean, that just speaks to the level of skill these guys have. It is ridiculous. And I mean, my fiance was even watching the game with me last night. She commented on the pace of play and just the quickness of everybody. So it's definitely different than the college level.
Jimmy Butler is the third player in Heat history with 500 points, 100 rebounds, and 100 assists in a single postseason. Who are the other two guys that did that?
Gotta think LeBron's one.
Yep.
I want to say Wade, but I'm not going to say Wade. I'll say Alonzo Mourning.
You should have said Wade.
I should have said Wade. That would have been a lot of scoring for Mourning. And now that I think of it, he never even got to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah.
So that was dumb of me. He played there for a while, but yeah, that was stupid. That was stupid. Which I did have to show my fiance last night. They were because Jeff Van Gundy's one of the commentators, right, for the finals. And I just started laughing at one time thinking about when he was hugging Mourning's leg in that fight between Grandmama, Larry Johnson, and Alonzo Mourning. So I pulled it up on YouTube, and it's just as funny now as it was then. And she had never seen The Malice of the Palace. She knew nothing about it, so I had to show her that too. Ron Artest and Jermaine O'Neal and Steven Jackson and all that. Interesting when somebody's watching it for the first time and asking questions. It was kind of fun, but had to explain to her that Pacer team was pretty darn good, or got to be pretty darn good that year. And never know what they could have done.
Yep.
So, any other NBA Finals thoughts or NBA in general besides the draft, which we'll be talking about next?
Nope.
Well, NBA draft, we do finally have some prospects that talked about from the Big Ten. Some that stayed in the draft, some that came back for both of our teams. And probably one of the guys who came back was a headliner around college basketball, not only the Big Ten, but that was the defending National Player of the Year, Zach Edey. He did make Purdue fans sweat it out. He took it up to 9 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time hour, which 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time was the deadline. But as you saw, or you can see with Purdue's social media and the video that came out, they didn't just make that night. That was made maybe earlier in the day, but probably even the day before or so. So he just waited, took his time to announce it himself on social media, and he's running it back at Purdue for his senior year. And sounds like the NIL is going to exceed $1 million for him, which is some big time money for anybody, let alone a college student or college athlete. But now the pressure's on Purdue. I mean, last year the pressure built as the season went on. There was no pressure going into the year whatsoever. Year before there was some pressure. I don't think as a Purdue fan I've experienced anything as close to what this next year is going to be pressure-wise. And some Purdue fans say you got to go back to 88, 89, or maybe it was 87, 88 with Everett Stevens, Troy Lewis, and I can't think of the third one, the triplets. I can't think of the third one right now with those guys. But Todd Mitchell is the third one. There we go. But I don't know. I mean, I've seen some good Purdue teams, 09-10. That was pretty pressure-packed season. But I don't think it's one of those things. I mean, Purdue won 2 Big Ten championships last year. And then they get upset in the first round by 16 seeds. So it kind of, I'm not saying it derailed everything they did before because they still had a great season, but it leaves such a sour taste in your mouth. You can't remember the season without remembering that. And so no matter what they do in the regular season, they could win. They go undefeated. It's not going to matter. It's going to matter what they do in March. And if everybody stays healthy, I hate saying it because the tournament's such a crapshoot, but if everybody stays healthy, it's almost Final Four or bust mentality.
It's got to be, especially after what happened last year with leaving the sour taste in your mouth. And now there's this obviously extra motivation because the Painter haters came out in full force after losing to FDU, and that's not going to get any quieter as long as he can't get to a Final Four. So I'm sure Matt's feeling the pressure, and he's going to do his absolute best to alleviate that from his team. Because you're not going to play well if you're feeling pressure. That's just kind of the reality of the situation. But I did like their pickup of Lance Jones from Southern Illinois. I mean, they needed kind of like a veteran point guard, gritty guy to kind of help Braden Smith out because he didn't have a whole lot of help behind him last year.
No, and he and Fletcher Lawyer hit freshman walls late in the season. Yeah. They were tired. They hit a freshman wall. They started playing like freshmen at the worst time. And really, one thing Purdue lacked last year was athleticism. Of course, they had it the year before with Jaden Ivey. I think they're going to get that with 2 guys, incoming true freshman Miles Colvin and then redshirt freshman Cameron Hyde. I think both of them are going to add some athleticism. One of them might even end up starting. I wouldn't be surprised if one of them unseats Ethan Morton in starting lineup. But, I mean, this is the second most minutes back for, I think, the first 6 or 7 man rotation in Purdue history, second most. Wow. So, big expectations of West Lafayette. And, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. But like I told my Purdue friends the other day, and I told you guys, my non-Purdue friends, I'm going to enjoy college football because I don't really have expectations. And as a diehard sports fan of a team, it's more fun when there's no expectations because it's just
that is true.
Pressure. And we're fans. How do you think the players and the coaches feel? They want it even more than we do just cheering. They're in the grind. They're in the foxhole every single day. Yeah. So,
2 years ago, Ivey's sophomore year, there was obviously huge expectations coming into the year. Nothing like this, though.
No.
What did they come into the year ranked that year? Were they top 5?
Either 5th or just outside, maybe 6th or 7th. Got to think they'll be top 5 this year.
Oh yeah, I would say their floor is probably 3. Maybe Duke and Kansas are supposed to be really good. They might be ahead of them.
Michigan State will be up there too, unfortunately.
Yeah,
maybe not top 3, but they'll be
in that top 10, I imagine. And then after that, I don't know if there'll be another Big Ten team ranked. Illinois might sneak back into the top 25, maybe Indiana as well. For some reason, Ohio State's getting a lot of buzz.
I think Wisconsin could be pretty good.
Wisconsin picked up some transfers that could be solid. But Chucky Hepburn left too, didn't he?
Yeah. I think he did.
So,
but there's going to be a lot of teams in the Big Ten too to take a step back. Iowa's going to take a step back.
They should. Yeah.
I think Rutgers will take a step back.
Yeah.
Penn State probably take a step back. I mean, brand new coach. Who knows? Minnesota's still going to be terrible. Nebraska will probably be a little better. Northwestern,
I think they'll take a step back. They lost Audige, and I quite frankly think they had this miraculous run in February anyway, where they got to beat Purdue and Indiana, and they were very fortunate in those games anyway. That I don't even know if they're going to be a tournament team. Maybe that's just me hoping they're not going to be a tournament team, so I don't have to hear about them anymore. They do get Boo Buie back, but I just don't think Northwestern will be that great. Michigan should not be very good at all.
No.
They obviously lost Dickinson to Kansas, and then Caleb Love decided to get out of his deal there and go to Arizona. They don't have a whole lot.
Jet Howard went pro.
Yeah, Jet Howard went pro. So last year it was so like there was a great Purdue team and then a bunch of pretty good in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Now it could be pretty top heavy where there's 4 or 5 teams that are pretty good, and then there's a bunch of just not very good at the end of that.
Big Ten's got to figure out a way to get deep in March. I don't know what the formula is. I mean, I know the tournament's a crapshoot. We talk about all the time on this podcast, but they got to figure out something. It's getting embarrassing where no teams are getting past Sweet 16.
Yeah. I don't. And it every year we say, well, this should be the year they get to a Final Four, but again, crapshoot. You never know.
And it doesn't really matter how many teams you put in there.
Yeah, and
they've proven that too.
Routinely put the most teams in, and they still just find themselves out by the second weekend.
Was there any Big Ten names that surprised you that didn't pull their name out and come back to school?
That did not come back.
Were you surprised Murray didn't come back to school?
No, I think he'll be a first-round pick or close to it anyway. He'll probably get a guarantee.
Simpson ball? Did that surprise you? No,
me neither. Yeah, he's a top 20 guy. Guys that came back that I was surprised came back, one being Coleman Hawkins for months leading up to the draft. It was 50-50. Hawkins wants to leave, but I think he made the smart choice. He would have gotten drafted, but there's no guarantee that he'll have it. And he knows he would have had to develop in the G League, so came back for a sure thing. Shannon, it sounded like, was always probably going to come back. Now they just need to find a legitimate point guard, and they should be pretty good. Omaruyi coming back didn't surprise me. It's really not a guy.
I know. Yeah.
Off the top of my head that I can think. Chase Audy staying in kind of surprised me a little bit, I guess, because I don't think the NIL game's real strong there in Northwestern, but had a chance to run it back, and they could have been pretty good, I think, with him. But he also transferred in, so he'd probably been in college 5 years by that point. I just wanted to move on. So,
how about a national landscape outside the Big Ten? Anybody that stayed in that you were surprised or that came back and you were surprised?
Man, I wish you would have asked me this earlier in the day so I could have thought about it.
I feel like a lot more people were coming back this year than in years past.
Which, again, that's because of the NIL.
Sure.
That stayed in that I was surprised.
Were you surprised, Ashidwe?
Did he stay in?
Yes.
Yeah, because I don't know if there's a place for him in the NBA.
But you got to think, he was the defending national player of the year last year, came back, played with 4 new starters around him, didn't have near the success he did the year before. It sounded like he was going to come back, and then Kentucky kind of fumbled the NIL with him a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then he said, if that's going to happen, I'm not coming back. So.
Yeah, there were rumors he was going to come back and put his name in the transfer portal. Yeah. He would have been a 2-time transfer because he transferred from West Virginia.
Isn't it hilarious to you, coaches like Calipari in basketball and Saban in football are complaining about the NIL and struggling with it?
Yeah, they've been dropping bags for years.
Yeah. Now that's fair, and other people are doing the same. They're losing their advantage, and it's just funny. I mean, Saban just crying down in Alabama.
I can't imagine it's hurting Saban. Now, Calipari, it's very clearly he's not. This started even before NIL. He's stopped kind of recruiting at a real high level like he used to. He's recruiting at the high level. He's just
not winning games.
Kind of proven that he's not that good of a basketball coach. To be honest. In his time there, if they have a rough year this year, I think they'll run him out of town pretty quickly.
Even with the big buyout, I think Big Blue Nation won't care.
Yeah, they won't care. I'm trying to think of other guys that came back. I don't think any that's overly surprising because if you're a projected first round pick, you're usually going to stay in.
How about Florida Atlantic returning all their guys?
couldn't care less. I think
know.
they should be pretty good, but talking top 5,
yeah, that's a little over dramatic. They could really crash. I mean, they could be really good next year, and then maybe they'll make the tournament again. But to do anything as close to this year, to be a buzzer beater away from the championship game, I don't see that. And really, they got fortunate to win the 8-9 game over Memphis. But that's what you got to do to make a deep run. I get it. But yeah, I don't think they can handle the pressure, even if they're preseason top 10.
Yeah, I mean, I credit those guys not trying to leave because obviously there's not a whole lot of money there looking at their arena.
There is in the surrounding area of Florida, Boca Raton, but
who's huge Florida Atlantic basketball fans,
or football,
or alumni even.
Yeah.
But
I should look that up. Florida Atlantic alumni.
I think they should. I mean, they were obviously really good. I know they got a 9 seed, but still, they won 30 plus games. I think they only lost 4 games all season.
Sure. New conference.
Where they go?
It's official in July, I think, but they are leaving the Conference USA, and I don't want to screw this up, so I'm looking at it. And they're moving to the AAC, American Athletic Conference.
It's going to get tougher. Mm-hmm. Remember when Conference USA used to be good?
Yes.
Cincinnati, I believe, was in
Louisville.
it. Louisville was in it.
Marquette.
Marquette was in it, yeah. They're going to the AAC, so that had obviously been in the works before their tourney run.
Yes.
But life's going to get more difficult. It will be easier to get a at-large bid, at least, being in the AAC, and they should be good. But I'm interested to see if they're top 10 good because I don't buy it.
They've got some athletes for alumni, but executive vice president, chief financial officer of Office Depot. Nobody that really you see the name right away. Oh, I know who that is.
Yeah.
A Carrot Top.
Pretty sure Carrot Top's destitute at this point.
Yeah, it says American comedian Carrot Top.
He lost all of his money in the 90s.
Yeah, I wonder if that was like a Masters or something, though, because they wouldn't have. I mean, he's decently old, isn't he? By now?
He's probably 60. 58.
Interesting. Yeah. But no, it's now we know kind of around college basketball what the rosters are going to look like. So far, I mean, you can still add some people, I guess. I think only grad transfers at this point. I think if you're not a grad transfer, I think the deadline's already come and went. Because I know there were some people who were worried about Trey Kaufman around Purdue with Edey coming back, but that deadline's already came and went, and I don't think he's going anywhere.
Yeah, you'd have to get a waiver, and the NCAA would probably grant a waiver. Although summer school's got to be starting here in the next week or so, and that makes it a little more difficult. But
Right. So we'll have plenty more of Big Ten hoops talk a couple months from now, but it'll probably be a little silent for the next 2 months or so. I mean, usually during the summer we talk ACC Big Ten matchups, but we don't have to worry about that this year because that's not.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't like it. I fear change.
I like the CBS, NBC, and Fox deal though, and no ESPN. I like that.
Yeah, if Kevin Warren would have actually finished the job there, then it would have actually been done. They wouldn't have had to clean up his mess.
Now he's making messes for the Bears. So,
yeah.
But I mean, they announced the TV schedule last week with CBS, Fox, and NBC. NBC's gonna have the most game / Peacock. It's gonna have the most games the first year. I think CBS only has 7 Big Ten games the first year, but then that ramps up to like 14 or 15 in 2024 once USC and UCLA come in. But I like the Fox Big Noon, CBS 3:30, NBC 7:30. I like that every single weekend. That'll be good for the Big Ten.
Yep, triple header, and then you'll get the Maryland, Rutgers on Big Ten Network.
Well, each team has to have at least 2 games on the Big Ten Network. Each Big Ten team throughout the year, so which is fair.
That makes sense.
Fair. Yeah. Yep. So,
going back to the NBA real quick, I would like to make the J-Man's Book It prediction of the week. By this time next week, I think the Denver Nuggets will have won an NBA championship. That's just my.
So you think You think they're gonna win all the games this week?
I do. I'm also trying a little bit of reverse psychology because I don't like to see anyone in Denver happy. J-Man's Book It predicts the week brought to you by Indiana Farm Bureau insurance agent Travis Watchering for life, home, auto, business, renters, workers' comp, and farm insurance. Contact Travis at 219-869-4561. His email is travis.watchering@infb.com.
Well, you've kind of adopted the Heat. I mean, you already got the Canes. You got the Dolphins, so you might as well add
Yeah,
the
I am Miami through and through.
You might as well just be Florida and Illinois. I mean, which you are Florida and Illinois, aren't you? Yeah. Illinois, yeah. Cubs, Bulls, Dolphins.
Bulls.
When Io plays well, Bulls.
Even then, I don't even watch.
Yeah. But I got a good word association for you, if you're ready for that this week.
Absolutely.
This is a list of athletes, really good athletes, that went ringless in their careers.
Oh, boy.
Ringless. Starting with Mr. Barry Bonds.
Oh, man. Greatest hitter one of the greatest hitters in the history of baseball. Maybe the greatest player in the history of baseball. There we go. Obviously, his steroid use will keep him out of the Hall of Fame. And it's a shame because he would have been a Hall of Famer without the steroids. He helped save baseball along with Sosa and McGwire. It is a dark time, but I think he should get in. It sounds like HBO is making a documentary about his career with the directors of The Last Dance, so that should be really good.
Should be really good, and I know it's getting a little off topic, but Netflix in August is coming out with a documentary about the Urban Meyer years in Florida.
Yes.
From 2006 to 10, so that's going to be really, really good. Those teams are stupid. Talented when you go look at the rosters.
Yeah, and a bunch of characters. I mean, obviously you had Holier Than Thou, Tim Tebow. You have Riley Cooper. You have Percy Harvin. You have Aaron Hernandez, the Pouncey brothers, Pouncey twins. Yeah.
Yep.
Crazy dynamic there.
Yeah, Bonds was must-see television, especially that year when he was hitting 73. You had to tune in or, Baseball Tonight, cut in. What's Bonds doing? It's nostalgic there. I saw him play against the Cubs once at Wrigley. He put on an absolute show in batting practice. He and Sosa were going against each other. He broke a window of the apartment across the street. It was crazy. The whole place gave him a standing ovation, even Cub fans, because it was just nuts. It was like corked bat. I don't care what it was. It was still unbelievable what he was doing. But did he only play in one World Series? Just that one for the Giants, right? He didn't get there with the Pirates, right?
Yes, I don't think he got there.
Because he got the NLCS with the Pirates, but okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's switch to basketball. Charles Barkley.
Chuck, the round mound to rebound. They said he was closer to 6'2" than he was 6'6", which is crazy because he was a beast on the boards. Now he is one of the funniest.
It's one of my favorite commentators. I love him.
He a lot of times he doesn't even try to be funny, but he is. Him and Shaq are a great duo there, and Ernie keeps him in check, which makes it even funnier.
And he's not scared to speak his mind. He doesn't care who he offends.
Yeah, he's not.
He's respected in that category, unlike a Skip Bayless or a Stephen A. Smith. The talking pieces. I mean, Charles has good thoughts behind it. He's thought it through what he's going to say usually. So,
yeah.
But yeah, he only played in one finals. That was his MVP year with the Suns. So he also played with Sixers and the Rockets. Your boy Dan Marino.
Yeah, he obviously broke and set all those records back in the 80s, and then just never really had much of a ground game, didn't have much of a defense till later in his years, later in his career when he was kind of on his way out. They had opportunities, though. I think they were the 1 seed or something. They hosted the AFC Championship game in the early 90s, and the Bills, I believe, obviously it was the Bills, but the Bills went in there and won, if I'm not mistaken. But he didn't really have that many opportunities. He lost one, just could never get back.
Yeah, it's too bad they couldn't have built his teams like they built Elway's later teams, the Broncos around him, because if it wasn't for Terrell Davis, I don't think Elway gets any Super Bowls, because Terrell Davis changed that team on the ground game, and they got a decent defense around him too, and he had a good O-line too. Those two Bronco teams were pretty darn good, but for years he was getting to them and getting blown out, and it's too bad that Dan didn't get that similar guys around him.
Never had a running game ever. Right. So they had to throw it a bunch, which usually when you throw it a bunch, you don't win a whole lot either. They won a bunch, but they just didn't do much in the postseason. One-dimensional.
The mailman, Karl Malone.
Man, I could say things about him, but it should not go on television. Just Google Karl Malone and see what he did in the 80s, and you'll lose all respect for him. Scottie Pippen told him mailman doesn't deliver on Sundays, and Karl Malone missed 2 free throws in the finals.
He was MVP just because they were tired of giving it to Jordan, so they gave it to Malone.
Yeah.
And then he and Gary Payton went ring hunting and joined Shaq and Kobe on that Lakers team who got beat by the Pistons.
Yep.
So didn't work out so well for them, but he is a legend. Just wish he would have played for the Jazz, because like Stockton did the whole time, because I don't know, we just don't see that anymore. Barry Sanders.
Retired early, kind of like Megatron. They retired about the same age. They always said that the Lions didn't even bother to have some. They pretty much had 4 offensive linemen out there, and Barry was just out there to make the other guy miss. Electric running back.
He made the Lions must-see TV, but the NFL thinks they're must-see TV this year with their schedule. I mean, they're season openers against the Chiefs. The Lions, season openers.
That's going to be a bloodbath. 42-17.
Well, speaking of Megatron and the Lions, Calvin Johnson.
Maybe the best receiver of his era. There were some really good ones, but that late 2000s, early 2010s, he was the best, and he was the one that made us wonder what a catch actually was.
It's true.
With that just horrendous officiating by the officials in that Bears game back. What year was that? About 2012 or so. Retired young, doing well in retirement, for sure.
Patrick Ewing.
Yeah, could never get her done. Obviously, none of these guys could get it done, but he didn't have great help around him either. And there's always so many conspiracies, as I think I talked about even last week with the frozen envelope. David Stern felt around for the envelopes, and it was the cold one, and that helped Patrick Ewing get to New York and Knickerbockers.
Yeah, you can make the debate that he didn't have great help around him, but when I think about those late 90s, early 2000s Knicks team, I mean, you did have Latrell Sprewell, Larry Johnson, Allen Houston.
Solid role players. But,
Oakley.
You need 2 stars, really, to win. Well, obviously, it'll help. But
that's fair. He was not a good collegiate head basketball coach.
Maybe the worst. High major. Outside of Todd Licklider that we've seen.
Can you tell me what other teams Ewing played for outside of the Knicks?
Remember, he was with the Orlando Magic.
Yeah, I think he was with one more. No, I know he was with at least one more. I'm going to say 3 without looking it up.
Was he a Trailblazer?
I don't believe so.
I don't know.
Seattle Supersonic.
I knew it was Northwest. Give myself half a point.
Half a point. Ichiro.
Oh, man. Yeah. One of the greatest teams in the history of baseball. 2001 his rookie year, and they just got beat by a better Yankees team. A team better suited to win a 7-game series, I should say.
That's fair.
Team. And then he never got back. Except with the Yankees, he got back. But with the Mariners, he never did. And
he wasn't on that 09 team.
I'm saying he got back to the playoffs.
Oh, sorry. I thought you meant he got to the World Series.
No.
Because I was like, he didn't even get there with the Mariners either.
Yeah, he in my opinion is the all-time hits leader. If you combine his career in Japan and then the U.S., blows Pete Rose away.
Another Seattle Mariner legend, King Griffey Jr.
Steroid to the max, I tell you. No, he obviously one of the sweetest swinging fellas in baseball history. He ever get to a World Series? I know he definitely didn't with the Reds. He never got to playoffs with that trash franchise. Or with the White Sox.
Clipping that thing.
Yeah.
No, he never got there. He got to ALCS.
Baseball's so tough to get there. You really need a really good team around you where one guy can kind of carry you in the NBA, or even if you're a quarterback, you can carry him in the NFL too.
Sure. Last one for baseball, a guy who got there once, another legend, great hitter, Tony Gwynn.
R.I.P. He popularized smacking the ball in the opposite field. Didn't have a whole lot of power, but just contact. You just see crazy stats about Barry Bonds, and you see crazy stats about Tony Gwynn on the complete opposite end of the spectrum with his ability to put the ball in play. I was fortunate enough to watch Tony Gwynn play live at least once.
That's
never
cool.
Never did get to see Bonds, which kind of sucked, but yeah.
That's pretty cool. All right, two more here. Allen Iverson.
AI. What's his nickname? It was AI. Wasn't
The
it?
Answer.
The Answer. That's right. I almost called him The Truth, but was that Paul Pierce?
Yeah.
Yeah, The Answer. He one of the more electric point guards, maybe the most electric, pure point guard in NBA history. Obviously, stepping over Tyrone Lue. Talking about practice, man. He ain't talking about the game. He's talking about practice.
He's got to have, for basketball players, one of the bigger brands outside of Jordan.
Yeah. The cornrows, the headband,
shoes.
The shoes.
The Iverson shoes were big. Yeah. And last, Randy Moss.
Yeah, I mean, he was on one of the greatest teams in NFL history, and they couldn't get it done because they ran into a pretty mediocre New York Giants team in the Super Bowl that got hot. Could never do it with Minnesota. Obviously couldn't do it with the other team. He was a Titan, wasn't he? Which was weird.
Remember, he's a Raider?
He was a Niner. He was a Raider. It was weird. And those teams are obviously terrible. But one of the greatest to ever do it. He was kind of the first guy I can remember that was tall and fast.
Yeah. And even in his older age on the Patriots, I was fortunate enough to see him play live against the Colts. Dude ran like a deer.
Yeah.
I mean, especially that year, Brady just had him run go routes, and Brady would just chuck it up, and he'd go get it. So, because that was his career resurgence, because he was awful in Oakland.
Yeah.
But like you said, the teams weren't good either, and that was just a bad fit out there. And then he became a good Patriot, and then didn't do anything anywhere else, even though he played in another Super Bowl for the Niners.
Did he?
Yeah.
Oh,
Niners against the Ravens, the blackout game. Yeah. So he played in a couple, but couldn't get her done. And that's the word association segment for the week, which is brought to you by Performa Print 2 Promo Group. If you're looking for a trustworthy, dependable resource for your next trade show, company picnic, or sales meeting, Performa Print 2 Promo Group has over 50 years combined experience in promotional products and commercial print. They strive for fast and efficient response to all your print needs, so you need to look no further. Let them be your one-source print and promotional company today by giving Barbara Van Weinsberg a call at 574-210-3815. Or if you'd rather email her, you can do that too at barbara.vanweinsberg@proforma.com.
Do you want to get educated?
I do. Looking forward to this one.
This is a pretty interesting one here. Pretty topical. 100 years ago, 1920, Philadelphia Athletics VP Thomas Scheib denies charges that the baseballs are livelier. Just 100 years later, I think it was 2019, there were so many accusations that the baseball's being juiced. So there was a thing back then, too.
And the A's are still in the news now with pending vote coming up later this month to see if they're going to go to Vegas.
They need to they need to go to Vegas.
Yeah.
On this day in 1952, the first sporting event ever televised nationally Jersey Joe Walcott beats Ezzard Charles in 15 for heavyweight boxing title.
I should have guessed it would have been boxing.
Yeah. 1955 New York Yankee Mickey Mantle hit a 50-foot home run.
It's a lot of Fs.
Off of Chicago Billy Pierce.
Billy Pierce probably let a lot of Fs too after that ball went up in the air.
Yeah.
Mickey Mantle's has some legendary tales for home run balls.
You wonder if all of them are true.
Correct.
620-foot homer. Yeah. 1957 New York narcotics investigator Dr. Herbert Berger urges AMA, don't know what AMA is, to investigate use of stimulating drugs by athletes. On this day in 1977, who won the 31st NBA championship?
77. Celtics.
Portland Trail Blazers beat the Philadelphia 76ers 4-2.
Blazers.
On this day in 1981, Houston Astros Nolan Ryan passed Early Wynn as all-time walk leader. He was effectively wild.
Never heard of Early Wynn.
How have you never heard of Early Wynn? Come on, Tanner. On this day in 1989, the Toronto Blue Jays Sky Dome opened.
1989, you said? I would have guessed it was newer than that. AMA is the American Medical Association, according to Eric Lee.
Huh. Dad's just a smart fella.
Guarantee you Googled it.
On this day in 2005, who won the French Open men's tennis?
2005? Let's go with young Roger Federer.
Rafael Nadal.
Dang it. That would have been a young Nadal, too.
You had a 50-50 chance in that one.
Yes, I did.
On this day in 2011, who won the French Open men's tennis?
Nadal.
Rafael Nadal won his 6th French title. He beat Federer on that one.
For a while there, that was the only major he could win. He was good on clay, but then he became good on everything else, too.
You're a tennis master.
No, I'm not.
On this day in 2016, who won the French Open men's tennis?
Let's go with, oh my gosh, why can't I think of his name? The other good one that got suspended. Djokovic?
Yep, you are correct.
Yeah.
Novak Djokovic of Serbia beats Scotsman Andy Murray. And, nope, 2 more here. 2018 American boxer Floyd Mayweather Jr. named 2017 top earner sports person by Forbes with $285 million.
It's a lot of coin.
Yeah, a lot of Skrilla. On this day in 2022, who won the French Open men's tennis?
Last year.
That was last year, wasn't it?
Yeah. I can name you like 4 tennis players. Let's go with Andy Murray.
Rafael Nadal won another one. Beats Casper Ruud of Norway. It's his 22nd Grand Slam singles title. 14 of them have been the French Open.
Do you think you'd be better at soccer trivia or tennis trivia?
Tennis by far.
I
wouldn't be good at that either. But
do you think soccer or hockey?
Hockey by far.
Boxing or soccer?
Neither. I wouldn't even attempt. I did see a soccer player signed a 3-year, $663 million contract. So there's money in soccer.
Oh, there's
worldwide.
Stupid.
Not in the
stupid
US.
Money.
Yeah.
Stupid money in soccer. But it's just sport I've never got into. I just
nope.
Can't. It's not for me. Teach their own, but it's not for me. So. But that is the On This Day segment brought to you by Mooney Woodcrafts. Mooney Woodcrafts is a veteran-owned and operated woodcraft shop based out of North Carolina with Indiana grassroots. They provide 100% hand-cut custom designs that fit your needs, and their pieces are a great addition to any home, office, or man cave. You can see some of their recently completed projects by visiting them on Instagram at Mooney Woodcrafts or on Facebook by just searching Mooney Woodcrafts. And if you let them know the Tan and J-Man Show sent you, you get 15% off your orders. So get your orders in. I'm not sure if he could have one done by Father's Day next Sunday, but even if not, he can get you one as a late Father's Day gift. So makes the perfect gift for any home, office, or man cave. And I even got one here in my office. It's right here at my exposure. It's one of my other podcasts I do, the Boiler Breakdown. Thad made me this piece back in September of 21. So he does great work. So get your signs in.
Baseball. Cubs had a pretty good week by their standards. Went 4-2. They play up to their competition and down to their competition. Get swept by the Reds. Marlins lose 3-4 to the Washington Nationals. Now they won 2-3 against the best team in baseball, and they have so far in this series won 2 of the first 3 against arguably the most talented roster in baseball in the San Diego Padres. But something's amiss there.
I'm looking up the Josh Munt tweets. So.
They pitched really well this week. Their offense was putrid up until yesterday, as they won a bunch of 2-1 games. It felt like in 1-0 on Monday, 2-1 against Tampa Bay on Tuesday. But Marcus Stroman won National League Player of the Week. He is second in the National League with a 2.39 ERA this year, and he is leading Major League Baseball with 11 quality starts. He has been arguably the best pitcher in all of baseball this year and should be a candidate. He should be an all-star for sure, but should be an early season Cy Young candidate in the National League. He has been fantastic so far. Love his demeanor. I want them to lock him up long term. But as I said, Cubs played pretty well this week. They're still just 26-32, 5.5 games behind the Milwaukee Brewers. But heading into last Monday, the Cubs had the worst record in the National League, and they no longer have the worst record in the National League. That would be the St. Louis Cardinals once again, 25 and 35.
Love saying that.
They got swept in Pittsburgh over the weekend. Colorado Rockies are just a half game behind.
They're awful.
The Nationals are a half game, or about the same as the Rockies. They're pretty bad as well. The Reds got swept by the Brewers over the weekend. Now they're 6 games back. Cubs offense terrible. It doesn't look like it's going to get any better anytime soon. But they're pitching well, although Justin Steele did go on the injured list. Typical Cubs fashion. And this started during the Theo Epstein days where guy will have an injury. They'll play a man down for 3 days, say it's not that serious. He'll be back soon. No worries. And then they'll put him on the injured list and he's out a month.
PR move.
That worries me about Justin Steele. He has a minor forearm strain, but when you're dealing with forearm strains, you can't mess with them at all. And so they said, only miss a start maybe. Well, he's going to miss a whole lot more than that. Cody Bellinger, when he had his injury 3 weeks ago, they said not a big deal. He can pinch hit tonight if he needed to. We're just taking it day by day with him. He should be good to go by the weekend. He just started taking BP on Saturday. So that's whoever is running the Cubs medical there needs to be fired into the sun. Elsewhere around baseball, you have the Brewers, as I said, they swept a 3-game series over the Reds. Pirates swept a 3-game series over the Cardinals. Arizona Diamondbacks are tied for first in the NL West with the LA Dodgers. They're 10 games over 500. It'll be interesting to see if that
I couldn't name a Diamondback.
If that continues. I'm trying to think of guys you might have heard of. They have a bunch of young guys you probably haven't.
No.
Corbin Carroll.
There's so many teams. It's embarrassing. Embarrassing.
They have maybe the best starting pitcher in all of baseball in Zach Gallen.
I have heard his name before.
Yeah, he's been fantastic, really for 3 or 4 years now. Marlins gave him up for very little. Cardinals did too, though, so got to throw them into the mix. Braves are still winning the NL East. The Miami Marlins are hot on their tail, though.
Mets are 500.
The Mets were brutal over the weekend against the Toronto Blue Jays. They just can't score runs. Here's an interesting Atlanta Braves stat. They have hit 12 450-foot homers this year, which is by far the most in baseball. The next closest team has 4, and that's the Rockies. Ronald Acuna Jr. has 5 by himself. So they are hitting absolute moonshots this year. So that was kind of an interesting one. Tampa Bay Rays are still pretty good. The Boston Red Sox are flatlining. I don't know if you saw some of their play from over the weekend. Looked like a little league team out there against the Tampa Bay Rays, the way they played defense. Baltimore's still really good. Yankees are good. Toronto's right there as well, but they're still, because the Rays are so far up, are so good. Yankees are 6 games back, and they're 11 games over 500.
It's crazy.
AL Central, without a doubt, worst division in baseball. Twins are leading that one at 31-29. Cleveland Guardians 27-32. Detroit's 3.5 out. White Sox are 9 games under 500 and only 5.5 games out. So whoever can play mediocre baseball the rest of the way will win the AL Central. AL West, the Texas Rangers have the second best record in all of baseball, 38-20. They have 15 games this year where they have scored 10 or more runs, which is obviously crazy.
They kind of went for it in the offseason, spent some money, and it's paying off.
Yeah, the crazy thing is they went out and signed all these offensive guys the previous offseason.
Yeah.
With Seager and Simeon. And Seager has missed 3 weeks or so already this year with an injury. 15 times this year scoring 10 or more runs. No other team has
good formula.
If you do that, you're going to win a lot of ball games. And they're pitching well. Feels like they're kind of back to being prevalent in the AL West. Houston's right there, though, 11 games over 500. Then you have the Angels, once again, 31-30, 8.5 games out. They're going to have a big decision to make here in a month or so if they're going to sell. They got to get hot now, or Ohtani will be the most sought after trade candidate maybe in the history of baseball. The type of I don't know what the Angels could get for him. The asking price is obviously, and it should be, absurd. The only thing is the Angels don't have a whole lot of leverage because Ohtani is a free agent at the end of the year. So they probably should have traded him in the offseason. They're just wasting away there. Trout's wasting away there. It's sad for baseball because you need these superstar guys to be in these playoff situations where they make even bigger names for themselves and can promote the game of baseball. But that team is just not good, and I don't know if it's ever going to get better. So hopefully the Angels do Ohtani a favor and trade him to a contender or the Chicago Cubs. I'd be pretty happy. Elsewhere around baseball, you have the Oakland A's. They're 12-49. They won 2 games this past week, though. So got to give them props. It is June 5th, and they are 27.5 games out of first place. They are 12-49. Like, I can't – they somehow don't have 0% playoff odds. It's less than 0.1%. I guess they could win out, but how many home games have they played? I want to do the math here on their attendance. According to their run differential, they've actually been a bit unlucky. Their Pythagorean win-loss record's 13-48, so they've been unlucky by about 1 game. They have played 31 games at home. Okay, let's see here. I can do some math here on a calculator real quick before we get into Birdie Bogey. Their attendance, 268,926 divided by 31. That's 8,000 people they're drawing a game, and there is no way 8,000 people are showing up, though. They're getting 1,000 to less than 1,000, so they need to move to Vegas.
Yeah, this time. Right. Oakland will be without any teams, but
they did it to themselves.
Yep.
Nikola Jokic became the 3rd NBA player in postseason history with 500 points, 200 rebounds, and 150 assists in a single playoff run. Can you name the other 2 players to have done this?
So 500 points, 250, and 100?
500 points, 200, and 150.
200 and 150, okay.
Yeah, I will give you a par if you get one of these guys.
Okay. 500 points, 200 rebounds. Man, that's a lot of points. Well, no way he got enough assists. Man, the assists is where it's getting me. 500 points. Oh, this is a stretch. Dirk Nowitzki?
No.
And there's so many obvious guys.
One more guess for a par.
I'm going to go with Kobe Bryant.
Oh, Tanner, no.
It's LeBron.
LeBron did it 4 times.
He's the obvious one. I'm so sick of every one I want to say LeBron, and I feel like it's never going to be right. Then it always is.
Larry Legend was the
I
other.
wasn't even thinking. I wasn't thinking that far back. I wouldn't have got him. LeBron was at the tip of my tongue the whole time. I'm like, too obvious. No way. It's going to be somebody. 3 strokes back. I hate them.
Thanks for watching the Tan and J-Man Show live on the ISC Sports Network. Have a fantastic week, everybody. We'll be back at it next Monday.